Okay, good morning and welcome to STEMconnector's 2021 Annual Summit. My name is Ted Wells and I'm Vice President of Client Services. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's event and to thank you for joining us. We have a great program focused on advancing STEM talent and advancing opportunity for all. To that end, our summit is unlocking innovation through equity, which draws attention to the idea that realizing future innovations requires increased equity in education. So let's get going. Our first speaker today is our CEO, Dr. Joe Weber, who has been leading our organization since September 2020. Taking an organization over that brings people together in the midst of a global pandemic was a bold move, and I continue to be impressed by Joe's vision, audacity, and leadership. We look forward to sharing some new resources and opportunities with you today, along with a fantastic lineup of speakers that we have brought together. So without further ado, Joe, it's my pleasure to hand things over to you.
Well, thank you, Ted. Good morning, everybody. What a time it is, as Ted said, you know, working through the pandemic now for 2 years has been quite a stretch, but a bit of good news happened. Last week was the 10-year anniversary of STEMconnector. So big party for all the STEMconnectorites. And, you know, 10 years, a decade is a significant milestone for any company. And really, you are all part of a network that links educational institutions, non-profits, and the private sector, and has had a significant influence in advancing STEM education and employment over the past decade. Now, over those past 10 years, many important relationships and partnerships have been forged between STEMconnector members. And these relationships have led to many significant STEM-related endeavors, including over 2.5 million mentoring relationships through our Million Women Mentors initiative, and millions of students being exposed to the opportunities of STEM and getting a greater awareness of STEM careers. Now, I'm going to try and share my screen for a moment here, portion of the screen. Let's try and do this. So hopefully everybody can see that okay. So 10 years on, and the work of this group of individuals just feels more critical than ever. The pandemic has made technology and science ever more important. People all over the world, let's move to this guy here. I think all of us have become familiar with this image, which is not something, you could probably put this image almost in any country in the world and people would know what it is. So I think, you know, as we look back over the years and look at how we've changed, people all over the world have had a need to understand science, vaccines, data science, immune system, viruses, etc., in more depth than they ever have before, because their lives depended on it, and the lives of their children and their parents. And they've also had to come to grasp with the technological tools of the pandemic. The one we're using today, Zoom, Google Meet, Uber Eats, DoorDash. I thought it was a brilliant move, by the way, with Uber. They went from delivering people to delivering food for us during the pandemic. Slack and many others. Online grocery delivery. Now, before the pandemic, 20% of the population of the United States had tried online food delivery, online groceries. But now 80% have. And people are continuing to use this service, even though things have opened up a bit more. These are all major changes. This was one that surprised me recently. I use Statistica quite a lot. I think I have a good source or a good handle on statistics, meaningful data. 44% of the US are now working from home 5+ days a week. That's incredible. That's half of the population almost is now working from home. So these are huge impacts, huge changes that are impacting millions and millions of people. And it's clear that our reliance on and our need for STEM has only increased during this pandemic. We're looking at the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. We can see that STEM jobs are expected to grow at a rate of 2 times non-STEM jobs over the next decade. And to be honest, I will be frank with you, I think they're underestimating it. There's also going to be a huge increase in cybersecurity. Now, I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, this pair of characters tried to take down the internet, and they succeeded. The more and more we connect things, we connect our fridges, we connect our homes, we connect our supply chain, we connect our toys, our children's toys. There was a Barbie that was connected to the internet. These toys, although it's fun, and in the case of things like the supply chain connection, it brings us great efficiencies, but there is a double-edged sword. A group of hackers 5 years ago used these teddy bears that were internet-enabled teddy bears, a bunch of fridges, and other internet-connected devices, and they took down some of the biggest internet companies: Twitter, Etsy, Spotify, Airbnb, Reddit, Netflix, were all brought down by this massive DDoS attack, taking out a lot of the East Coast, and I think it was also in the UK. I think it went through the parts of the UK. So that increase in the number of, the rate of growth of jobs in cybersecurity, I think we're absolutely going to see that. I would say there's zero unemployment in cybersecurity. And this is a matter that affects all of us with everything we do, both personally, in our private lives and also in our business lives. The threat of cybersecurity and needing to have a generation that understand and can work in cybersecurity. Now, for those of you who've been with us a few years, you may remember in 2018, we did a big report on the state of STEM, and this is available free to any member, and you can get this from the website. And Amy, if you wouldn't mind, or somebody, if you wouldn't mind putting a link into the chat so people can access. I think it was a very good report, and we identified that were 5 critical gaps, and I'm showing those gaps on the screen right now. But there's another gap, and it's becoming more and more apparent, and that is that there is a great effect that networks have on the STEM talent pipeline. And HubSpot is predicting that 85% of jobs are filled through networking. And CNBC reports that 70% of jobs are never made public. So that's a tremendous amount of opportunities that only become available to a subset of the population. Jeff Weiner, who was the old CEO of LinkedIn, not that he's old, I mean ex-CEO of LinkedIn, he called this the network gap, and it troubled him greatly. So one of the things we're trying to do is we'll be releasing a technology platform called Atlas. And Atlas is designed to allow easy discovery of companies and careers by high school students and college students. We feel by putting the opportunities out there on the map for all to see, we can showcase opportunities for all. It could be internships, it could be shadow hours, it could be work-related experiences, it could be mentorships, people willing to mentor. And it can also be jobs, full-time jobs, part-time jobs, remote jobs, different kind of opportunities, but really putting it out there and letting students and young people from all over have access to these opportunities. Earlier this year, I saw firsthand the power when you put some of these STEM opportunities in front of students. We worked with NASA and also with P&G Olay. With NASA, we took a couple of their employees who were not astronauts, right? Because everybody understands that NASA has astronauts. I think everyone knows that one. But we took some women from NASA who were not astronauts, but they were working at NASA, and we put them in front of about 10,000 students across different schools. And the response was overwhelming. One of the women was African American, and the schools just flooded us because with thanks afterwards, because when a student could see that somebody that looked like them, that came from a similar background to them, was able to achieve a career in STEM, then they knew that they would be able to do that too. So it's been tremendously empowering to see that this year. So as we move into 2022, I had so hoped we would be in person for this meeting today. That's why the meeting is in December, really, because we kept thinking we would be able to. We kept thinking, oh, October, it'll be okay by October, then maybe November. So I apologize that we are late in the year, but we really, really wanted to convene in person. But as you can see, we've, I think decided it's not quite right. We are, however, hopeful for 2022. We're thankful for the scientific work that has led us to this point, and we're hopeful that we will be able to convene in person next year. With our new head of research, Dr. Cindy Zeiker, we have a robust schedule of research planned for next year, and we are planning the return of the very popular innovation labs. A little bit more information on that later. We will also be continuing our brand amplification work throughout the year, and in particular with our in-demand ebook series, both from a publication standpoint and also from a content distribution. We found that our ebooks are extremely popular, both in K through 12 and in college levels. I think our calendar of activities is now available, and we're going to walk everybody through that at our annual kickoff event in January. But today, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I know you have other Zooms that you could go to, because in any given time, there's a lot of Zooms going on. So I really appreciate you for joining us today. I'm really excited about the programming that we've lined up today. Being the CEO, I get the privilege of kind of getting to talk to and meet to some of the presenters ahead of time and see what's coming. So I'm super excited. I think it's an excellent program we have for you today. I'm sure you're going to be thrilled. So with that, let's get the show going.
It takes vision to deliver a sustained supply of leading-edge semiconductors necessary for growing today's global data economy. Micron's planned investment of over $150 billion in manufacturing and R&D, combined with sustained government support, enables leading-edge Micron memory into the next decade, helping to create jobs, strengthen critical infrastructure, and grow the data economy for all. Let's build our future together.
Thank you so much. That is quite an investment, and I think we're going to need quite a few individuals in STEM careers to make this work. I'm pleased today to introduce you to Cher, Micron's Vice President of Global Talent Acquisition and Mobility. Cher leads Micron's global recruiting strategy and operations by employing innovative human resources solutions to attract, engage, and retain top diverse talent. Cher joined Micron in 2010 following the acquisition of its joint venture, STEMconnector, and has served in senior leadership positions of increasing responsibility ever since. Her unique ability to balance the human element of work with corporate objectives results in empowered teams pursuing organizational excellence in the semiconductor industry. Cher serves as chair and sponsor of the Asia chapter of the Micron Women's Leadership Network. She has also been an advisor on several councils, including for Eightfold AI, the Micron Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion Organization, Micron Foundation's Singapore Committee, Singapore Workforce Skill Qualification, and Singapore Semiconductor Leadership Accelerator Program. She is a member of the Nanyang Technological University Career and Attachment Office Industry Advisory Panel. She received a DE&I Champion Award at the National Diversity and Leadership Conference in 2021. Cher earned a bachelor's degree in chemistry from the National University of Singapore, and she is a graduate of both the Stanford Graduate School of Business Executive Program and the Singapore Management University Executive Development Program. Cher, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Amy. And a big congratulations on STEMconnector 10 years impactful journey. A very good morning to everyone. It is indeed my honor to be able to join this year's STEMconnector Annual Summit. Well, Microns have been a member for the last 5 years, and we definitely have benefited to the learning and sharing of information and expertise with many of you in this call this morning. And on behalf of Micron, I say a big thank you. Well, we're glad that through this partnership, we can share our STEM programs by our Micron's Give organization, such as the Micron's Chip Camp, which is one of our iconic programs that have run for the last 20 years. And students engage in the STEM discovery and tech fun through hands-on activities, including creating the solid stage device out of Lego, and also learning photolithography through the cookies wafer construction. Well, the students also have a chance to actually move wafers in the cream room. We definitely committed to continue to create such exponential learning, because so that we can engage the students in their 3 critical points of their decision making, inspired to take their STEM course, influenced to pursue a STEM career, and also engaged to stay and also grow in the STEM industry. Upon graduation from the National University of Singapore with a chemistry degree, I joined the semiconductor as a wafer fab engineer. And very, very, privileged. During my first year, I was able to spend the time in US and Japan for my training before returning, to start up the first 200 wafer fab facility in Singapore. And subsequently, I led the industry engineering team, the financial planning team in finance, the technical training and development team, and the human resource, the people organization. I must say that throughout this career, there are 3 aha moments that literally influence my desire to do 2 things. One is in the front of diversity, and secondly is in the front of STEM talent. Number one, I still recall, almost 2.5 decades ago, in the cohort of new college graduates engineer, there was only 5 female engineers out of the hundreds of us joined during that time. And sitting in the room, being so underrepresented, where I would say that our voice, the 5 of us, was not literally heard. Definitely our views are not being asked and not valued, including not being able to actually participate in some of the learning, because this learning was literally shared over the drinking session in Japan. I must say that within that period of time, I told myself that, over the years of my career, I do want to see at least a 5x increase in the next 1-2 decades. And I'm glad to say that in 2021, Microns achieved a 45% of our global new college graduates are from the underrepresented group, including the gender, the ethnicity, and the people with disability. So that is the diversity front that I'm passionate. And second, definitely during my financial planning time in 2007 to 2010, it was extremely challenging with a very dynamic business environment. And literally, as I analyzed all the scenario and recommendation, and could learn that what it takes for an organization to thrive in a dynamic and complex environment, literally beside the technology and the financial capital, it is literally the STEM talent and the culture that are critical to deliver the strategy, performance, and most importantly, helping company to stay ahead of the competitors. So with the diversity and the connections of the critical of talent to the business, the third piece of that connection is that the great talent crunch is real. Earlier on, we hear from Dr. Joe in terms of the magnitude of job creation. And in fact, Korn Ferry have published one of their white paper that project by 2030, we will expect a talent deficit of about 85 million workers across the economies. And STEM talents probably represent at least 20%, if not more, of this talent crunch. And it's definitely driven not so much by the shortage of people, but literally the shortage of skill. And the future of work, which is not too far away, as we all know, literally required, not just required different skill, but even different way of working, different way of thinking, and different way of connection, right? And definitely, as I work on this discussions, as I look at my journey of connection of diversity and talent, I again really appreciative of our STEMconnector continue to play a very critical role in partnering companies and navigate this great talent crunch that we are going to see or start seeing now, by providing that strategic partnership, and also be the catalyst in bringing the ecosystem together, especially earlier on, Dr. Joe introduced the apps, strategy, right? Literally to help to accelerate strategy and programs so that we can attract, retain, and key is sustain the diverse STEM workforce. In the first slide, microns and storage are literally the growing portions of the global semiconductor industry, and today represent close to about 30% of the semiconductor market. The cyclic growth driver, as we all know, is from the 5G and the AI, which literally expand the usage of the memory and the storage across the data center, the intelligent edge, and in also areas like the automotive and the diversity of the user device. And Micron's leadership definitely in both our storage DRAM and our memory DRAM and our storage NAND technology, and also our strength of our roadmap, enable us to invest more than $150 billion, as you heard earlier on in the video, to expand our industry leadership memory innovation in the next decade. And definitely the key is about delivering a differentiated product to our customer. And I'm also very excited. In fact, earlier this week on Monday, Micron's announced our new memory design center at Atlanta. And this new site will literally create up to 500 jobs across the various STEM disciplines, offering a significant opportunity, definitely for candidates that are looking for a career in technology areas. People is one of our core value at Micron. We have a strong people strategy that look at people focus, future ready, smart working, and community impact. And that is underpinned by our commitment to a very comprehensive diversity, equality, and inclusion strategy. And in fact, we have published our DEI for all earlier this year. And in the next slide, you literally see the 6 bold commitments of our DEI that were set last year. And what we have differentiated in our approach is how we embed this into our business, including having the strategy and execution owned by one of our members in the executive team, and also all team members around the globe. In the commitment number 1, the increased representations of our underrepresented group commitment, definitely we strive to develop a workforce as diverse as the world that we live in and operate in. And our aspiration goal is having that workforce reflect the market available underrepresented talent in wherever we operate. And definitely as a talent acquisition leaders, we want to continue to push boundary in 3 areas. I would say our imaginations, our mindset, and our tools. For first, imaginations, right? we will have to imagine where are we going to search for such STEM talent. And take, for example, of a process engineer. Traditionally, we will look at the engineering graduates in terms of the chemical, the materials, the electrical. However, we know that we will have to literally consider, people, the talents who graduate even from the pure science, like the physics, the biochemical, the mathematics, and even the agriculture. And you will be surprised in terms of how well they can do the engineering role. And this is exactly what Micron did when we're hiring the new graduates. And we know if we just look at the engineer, there's just so few women. If we look beyond to the adjacent field, we have a larger pool, bigger pool, right? And we focus less on actually the technical, the hardcore technical skill, because we can train them as long as they have the related experience, the lab experience. What is more important is that they must be hungry, they must be curious, the growth mindset, and also the tenacity. And in addition to broadening the field of search of the STEM talent, we also need to diagnose other aspects of the role and provide aids to ease the constraint. And for example, we know that working with the equipment parts can sometimes pose difficulties for our female engineers to handle. And literally to overcome that, a group of our hiring managers and our people's team innovate tools to actually ease the workload. And this is how we hire female equipment engineers, by looking beyond the norm and the standard requirement. The World Economic Forums have awarded Micron Singapore and Taiwan into their global lighthouse network for our leadership in the fourth industry revolution. And we see an acceleration of skill set that require of our talent, a steep increase in the demand of smart manufacturing, AI solution, data science, data platform, and engineer. And besides, roles such as the process and equipment engineers, where we focus on the hardcore engineering and science knowledge, we now look for engineers with the sensor, programming, data visualization skill set too. And in fact, there is an increasing demand of strategic program management role to integrate the different functions together. We quickly need to accelerate even our team members' digital skill, which we introduced our digital skill academics 1.5 years ago, and close to about 20 to 30% of our engineers cohort went through the training within the first year. We also need to work closely with institutions to enhance the multidisciplinary curriculum and prepare for the future-ready workforce. The second, pushing the boundary, is about the mindset addressing the bias. We definitely learned that the critical steps is really define the attribute that required to be successful in the organizations. And then we educate and calibrate our leaders and hiring managers globally to this attribute so that we can consistently in selecting and hiring our talent. We also aspire to go beyond that by creating a role in the interview team known as candidate airline. Just imagine in an interview room, you see a female candidate and a female candidate's airline. And when the interview starts, the female candidates can instantly feel comfortable and want to learn from the airline what is her experience as a woman in the workforce, how does she manage a work-life balance. The candidates will feel more included and safe to show up as a best self. And definitely the third part about pushing the boundary is expanding our tool. We implemented 2 AI tools to help us address both the aspect of the hiring from the company and the candidate perspective. One tool that guides us actually to write a more gender neutral job description. And I'm just curious, if I were to ask you, the words communication skill, is it a more male or more female preference? According to the tool, it's literally more male preference. So then what is that neutral gender neutral words? indeed, it is interpersonal skill. And we give them a score of where they are. And can you imagine all the hiring managers being engineers? They just love the scoring. The other tools that is AI-based that allow us to run targeted campaign. We also anonymize resumes to limit the unconscious bias during the shortlisting through their photos, name, interest, and address. We know that for women, most of the time we need to be 100% sure before we're ready to apply for a job. And the AI system actually take their resume and their express interest and feedback to them what other jobs and roles they can consider in the company. This nudging helps to expand the women applicants pool. Definitely, Microns also, are active in a way that we look at strategic relationship to attract diverse interns, including partnership with Year Out in giving at-risk youth a second chance by providing training, assistance in earning a degree, and internship programs in the corporate partner. We also welcome interns from Inroads that provide additional training to these students that you don't typically get it in the university, such as the business acumen and the leadership. In the next slide, you see that the Micron's Gifts program, coupling with Micron Foundation donations and our team members' contribution and volunteerism, which can be felt throughout the world. Right? And Microns and team members show up for our community and demonstrate by more than 47 of our team members make donation of time and or all money to the non-profit organization to the Micron's Gift this year. It's extremely meaningful that we are able to really also define a policy that support team members in terms every 4 hours in terms of their volunteerism. I want to thank STEMconnector again for providing this opportunity to share the work that Micron has done, and also STEMconnector commitment to increasing the number of STEM-ready workforce in our global talent pool, and your leadership to inform structure and connect leaders with a passion and best interest in growing the STEM-ready workforce like Micron. Congratulations again for your annual summit.
Thank you so much, Cher. Your commitment, Micron's commitment to equity in its work is absolutely undeniable, from the ways in which you have the most senior executives taking ownership for these DE&I principles to the very detailed tools and strategies that you are implementing to ensure that you are able to recruit and attract the highest quality and also diverse candidates. It's very compelling, and I think that we all have a lot to learn. In the interest of time, if it's okay, I'm just going to ask one question. At STEMconnector, as you know, we work across boardrooms, classrooms, and communities to address the great challenge that we refer to as the STEM talent crisis. What can you tell me about some of the ways that Micron engages with partners or with other corporate, with the larger ecosystem? What are some of the ways that you engage with others to address your need for acquiring diverse talent?
Thank you so much, Amy. Indeed, it's a great question. I think, with what we'll continue to learn of the talent crunch, it's going to take the whole village, the whole group, the whole ecosystem for all of us to be successful and continue to bring innovations and bring the impact to the mankind, right? Yeah, and definitely I will say that number one, the partnership with, like STEMconnector and the company with the institutions in really, participate and shaping the cross-discipline curriculum is extremely critical as we continue to observe that it's really, you need that whole person capability to be successful in the workplace today, and the workforce and the leaderships are so different today, right? So we continue to recognize, multidisciplinary, including engineering, taking a minor in finance, engineering students taking a minor in law, or vice versa, is going to be very, very impactful. And one of the curriculum that I was, I had the privilege to sit on some of the advisory board, is really even introducing concepts such as the ethics, given that we have all so much access to data and technology, literally bringing the ethics and the trust on how we should think about all this usage of data, the algorithm, as we are all going to march more and more into the AI world, right? So I think that's one aspect of it. And similarly, as for Microns, before we even embark on a partnership with our vendors, our AI vendors, 8-4, I literally, volunteered myself to sit on their technical advisory board, because I felt committed to really understand the algorithm, the thinking behind their value in terms of defining all this AI. Because the last thing we want is that we are teaching the machine to be more homogeneous and diverse. And until we are all understand the insight and the value of the company, then we committed to the partnership and continue to provide the feedback. So because things are changing so rapidly, so that our partner can also stay relevant and also create that win-win outcome. So I can spend a lot of time sharing many of this learning ourselves. And I will say that, you will find that it's a little bit of a two kind that you fail and you learn quickly again, and don't let that stop you. And secondly, a lot of this work are difficult work, and that's why we need leadership. And don't let that stop you, or your organizations. You can always reach out to the extended network and learn from each other. And if anyone wants to reach out in terms of the Asia aspect of it, feel free to connect with me. I'm actually based out in Singapore, and this week and next week, my first business trip since the last one, with the pandemic, I'm in San Jose. So leverage on your network. Don't be afraid and shy to ask for help and support. And literally, that's how we're going to empower through our knowledge sharing and learning together.
Thank you, Cher. It comes as no surprise to me that collective action factors heavily into your efforts to attract diverse talent. I have so enjoyed getting to know you over the past few weeks as we prepared for this event. I am so impressed by you as an individual. I am so impressed by what Micron is doing to attract diverse talent. It has truly been our pleasure to have you with us today, and our honor. So thank you so very much. And as I say to my children, there is no such thing as failure. FAIL stands for first attempt in learning. So I am with you that it is always an opportunity to continue to learn. And thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.